Hi, this is Curious Mystics Podcast. Together we explore the mysteries of the spiritual world, sometimes boldly,
sometimes cautiously,
but always with open hearts
and curious minds.
See you soon. Good morning. It's Erica
and Kim
from Curious Mystics Podcast.
Thank you for being here with us.
We have a special guest that we're super excited to have with us today.
Yes.
Her name is Lauren Josenhans, and she's the owner of Stella Luna in Southington, Connecticut, and holds an advanced certifications from the Love and Light School of Crystal Therapy and Hibiscus Moon Crystal Academy. She's a Reiki master of the Usi tradition and witch for nearly 4 decades. And Lauren crafts a variety of items sold in her shop, where she also offers private crystal healing sessions. And she can be found on social media at Stella Luna LLC. Welcome.
Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. I don't know if you and Erica have had this part of this conversation, but your shop is definitely one of our favorites.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we've been to a number of shops in the area in Connecticut, and there are no shops that I feel the amount of energy that I feel when I go into your shop.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That is the whole reason I opened the shop, truly. Gosh, I used to work in a shop very similar to mine back in the early 2000s. Dating myself here, but we've already gotten that part anyway, but here and there. And I loved going in there. I loved being in there and just surrounded by all the spiritual things. And I have all those things at home, but it just wasn't quite the same feeling as walking into a place. So I really wanted to cultivate that. I missed that. So when people come in and tell me they can feel that energy, it just sends shivers down my spine, because that truly is the reason that I opened the store in the first place, is to be able to share that experience with other people and have them feel that this feels so good to be here. So.
Oh, it does. I'm literally there every other week. And every time I go in there, I'm just I get covered in goosebumps and just warm and tingly.
I think we might have mentioned that before on a different episode, and maybe we didn't specifically say this was the shop, but yes, you've done a fantastic job with that, Lauren. And it's definitely something that I don't have the same type of experience as Erica with the physical energy and vibration, but I definitely feel a shift when I go in there, and it's this is exactly what you want it to be. So
thank you.
I very much appreciate that.
Yeah, I often say it's the first time when I walk in the door, it's the first time in the whole day that I can take a breath. You know,
yes.
Do have a day job in addition to the shop, so it's a little overwhelming sometimes, but this is my happy place for sure.
That's awesome. What first drew you to crystals?
I have always loved crystals from as far back as I can remember. I grew up in towards the shoreline, so we would take recess at the beach, and I was always playing with the pebbles, and my father would take us to museums, and I would be in the crystal section of all the natural museums, those little pencils with the chips. I don't know, maybe really myself here.
Oh yeah.
I loved those, and I would just play with them for hours. And yes, I've just always been drawn to the way that they look, the way they feel. I just love them.
That's pretty cool. I think when you find that there's something that you've been drawn to throughout your life, and it just flows so naturally. It's yes, this makes sense. This is where I need to be, or, how I need to incorporate this in my life, which is always, it's a great experience, I find, to have that. Do you remember the first crystal that you ever received and what it meant for you?
I've been thinking about this, the very first crystal. So it actually wasn't a crystal at all, it turns out, but I held on to it, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it was worn down from how often I would just hold it and rub it. But it was actually like a little piece of like fossilized coral that I had found
Oh,
on the
Cool.
beach.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it at the time. There's a lot of things that we refer to as crystals that aren't technically speaking a crystal, but
Mm-hmm.
as a general population, we consider it a crystal. So things like obsidian, for example, not
Mm-hmm.
technically a crystal, but we all put it in with the crystals. So,
Mm-hmm.
mm.
um, so
How do
yeah.
you think that came to be? Like, what is the difference between the things that are crystals and not, and how they can sometimes be covered under the same umbrella?
So they have a lot of this. They do still carry the energetic properties. They're mineraloids, technically, things like amber, obsidian, things that had a biological
Okay.
origin. So, what defines a crystal is its perfect geometric patterns. And when we see
Okay.
things like obsidian, which is lava that's cooled very quickly, it's technically a glass. It doesn't have that perfect crystal structure.
So there's differences in some of the properties of what's a crystal versus what's not, but sometimes they all get under the same umbrella because they all have those like energetic properties.
I think that's part of it. I
Okay.
think collectively as a society, we've kind of decided like
Mm-hmm.
we're going to call this a crystal. It's going to be lumped in as a crystal,
Mm-hmm.
which linguistically is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Scientifically, maybe not, but it really at the end of the day doesn't impact it as much.
Yeah.
There are people who are extreme purists that don't even like tumbled crystals. They only want to work with raw crystals, and
Mm.
fine, that's their prerogative. But
Mm-hmm. I think it seems like it just makes it a little bit easier to have everything uh, um to be easily classified that way.
yes.
If you're using it for this type of purpose, then it might fall under the same umbrella. So that makes sense. Is there a difference in how you acquire the crystals? In like I don't know, I hear people talking about like you have to be very mindful of like where you're getting your crystals from. So
Oh,
for
yeah.
you as a shop owner, is there something that you're looking for specifically and when you're getting your crystals in your shop?
Well, a lot of the vendors that I work with to acquire the crystals I worked with for decades, I think it's important to have
Mm.
dealers that you trust, and that it's obvious when people are in it just for the money and people are in it for the love of crystals or minerals,
Mhm.
or however you
Mhm.
want to classify what they do. You can tell when they like and appreciate it. That being said, there are many levels on down the line from where a crystal lives in the earth. There are many stages along which it gets touched.
Mm.
So the ethics of crystals and mining come up a lot. And I think
Mm.
that there's a lot more destruction involved in the kinds of crystals that are in our cell phone, in our
Mm.
homes. We are surrounded
Mhm.
by crystals all the time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I think ultimately what it comes down to is that if you can trust your vendors and you know what you're looking for, there's a lot of glass fakes on the market. There are a lot of lab grown crystals. And at the end of the day, if you really are connecting with a crystal, I'll take citrine as an example. There are people that are like, oh, I only work with natural citrine. I don't work with citrine that you find more readily available, which is heat treated amethyst. So
Mm.
when amethyst that gets heated, it becomes a citrine. A citrine. Uh, the natural citrine is heated by Mother Earth. So there are slight differences in that. You have that influence of the man made process involved. Some people it doesn't affect their practice at all. And some people prefer not to work with crystals that have been so influenced by mechanical means. However,
That makes
I
sense.
mean, if
Yeah.
you think about it, unless you're the one out there chipping away and digging at that crystal yourself, even then you're getting a little piece of a much bigger hole. So
Right.
you can really go down the rabbit hole um, in terms of purity, so to speak. I don't know if that's the best word, but um, I think ultimately, if you have a connection and you vibe with it, work with it.
Do you have any like tips or tricks that you would recommend if you do go into a shop or into an area to kind of know whether that, because like you said, you don't want like a plastic or a glass one? Because I've been into some shops and I'm like, oh yeah, I like this is, I wouldn't buy anything here, you know? So do you have any like tips or tricks on how to kind of differentiate that, or how to, you know?
If you are in a place and it is clearly indicated heat treated citrine, or if the shop owner or whoever you're working with is transparent about, where it came from, if they know. And that's not to say if they don't know that it's just automatically bad. But there are certain crystals that are frequently copied or manufactured, I'll say, things like opalite. Opalite is glass, and it's beautiful, but it doesn't have any of like earth energy into it.
Mm.
Although if you really want to get technical, glass comes from sand. Sand is quartz. So it, it, it can be a very roundabout way. There are like agate slices. I'm sure they're pretty common and ubiquitous. That they come in colors that do not exist in nature: hot pink,
Mm.
bright blue. You can usually see if a crystal's been dyed. You'll see the dye that kind of pools in the cracks and crevices of it. There are treatments that go over crystals, like the titanium or the aura plating, it's known as. I personally love those crystals because I just love that little added rainbow. But I don't often work with them in my practice per se. I
Mhm.
will enjoy their beauty, and that also produces a result that we want, right? Is joy and happiness.
Right.
So those are some of the things I would look for.
Yeah. I think that brings up a really good point too, in that, Erica and I are often talking about how sometimes you just have to work with what you have, and it
Yeah.
has a lot to do with what your intention is, what your purpose is, how you're putting your energy into it. So if you can differentiate, okay, maybe this isn't like this crystal in its purest form. However, this is my energy that I'm pouring into it, my intention for it, then it can be just as effective and for whatever the purpose or outcome that you're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. I think that when we try to be too prescriptive, with a crystal, like, okay, I I need a crystal for protection. Okay, I can recommend several crystals for protection, but I think the important thing is how it resonates with you personally. I mean, we are
Mhm.
all made up of energy, and the properties that are associated with crystals are accurate for most people, but not for all people. Not
Right.
everybody responds to crystals the same way. So it's more important to work with what you feel drawn to work with than it is to come in with a list of, I need this. Because and the example that I use often is we can say, oh gosh, I've got a headache. I need some aspirin. And that aspirin might work for that headache, but it'll come back in 2 hours if the
Mm.
real reason is because you're dehydrated and what you really needed was water.
There you
So
go.
that's kind of how I like to approach crystals and working with them. And one of the biggest pieces of advice I think I give to people when they are looking for specific crystals is kind of, what do you feel drawn to? Because usually if there's something out of balance, the crystal that can help balance it will stand out, almost waving at you like, pick me,
Mhm.
And more often than not, it's exactly what you needed.
I have definitely experienced that so when I do like shamanic work or shamanic journeys, I've been picking, just like looking at my like little group of crystals and being like, okay, who wants to work with me today? And definitely have been seeing a difference in how that has increased my abilities. And it's kind of a different one each day. So
Yes, I say the same thing when I look at my jewelry. Who wants to work with me today?
yeah. Yeah, definitely. What are some misconceptions? I guess this kind of goes along with this. So any misconceptions that you hear often about crystals?
I think more often than not, the biggest one is that there are some crystals that don't need to be cleansed or even cleansing crystals per se. I don't think that we can impact a crystal's energy as much as they can impact our energy. That being
Mm,
said, they can pick things up over time energetically, and it's almost like dusting a shelf or all the knickknacks that we have. That energy can build up like dust. That dust doesn't belong to that crystal, and that crystal would still work with the dust, but maybe not as well.
mhm,
So when I'm thinking about cleansing a crystal, I'm not aware of any crystals that don't need to be cleansed because they never collect negative energy. And I don't even like to use the term negative energy. There's negative and positive. I mean, it is just all energy. So there's energy that,
mhm,
doesn't feel right. And there's energy that feels like, oh, this will work. So
mhm,
I think working with the crystals that feel right to you and keeping them physically clean and also kind of energetically clean by doing things like I personally love sound cleansing, the
mhm,
energy or the vibrations from the noise of the sound, whether it's a singing bowl, a chime, even some beautiful music. It doesn't have to be too fancy, a bell. Those work almost like ultrasonic cleansers do for your jewelry. It just kind of
mhm.
knocks off anything that doesn't need to be there. Um, Crystals' energies are very solid, steady. They are, around for millions of years. We're here for maybe 100 if we're lucky. So we're not as impacted, or we are more impacted than the crystals are. Their energy isn't shifting as much.
Oh, okay.
Whereas,
That's
we
cool to
can
Yeah.
know.
have a bad hair day and that's the whole of the
Yeah.
day,
The
right?
whole day.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I think, I hear like people talk about, okay, you need to make sure that you're very regimented with it and do it every week or every month or things like that. But understanding that they might have more stability than what we're giving them credit for or what we're, imposing on them, that's an important piece of it. What about when you're maybe using them frequently and find that there is some like natural wear and tear or that they break or anything like that? What would you recommend in those cases?
Usually, so I guess it depends on the circumstance, of course. And yes, the more that you work with a crystal, the more frequently you would need to, just kind of give it an energetic refresh. We'll call it that. Um, Broken crystals, if you love it, if the tip is broken off or there's a little chip in it, it won't work exactly the same, but it's still going to do what it needs to do. It's not its only energy output through the tip of that. So I guess it depends on how hung up you are by it. If every time you pick it up, all you're focusing on is that chip and that broken thing and it breaks your heart, I wouldn't necessarily continue to work with that. I might stick it in my favorite plant or just put it in more of a display crystal than a use crystal
Mhm.
area. Um, but yeah, if you love it so much, like I dropped one of my towers one time and I was like, oh no, it didn't break the whole thing, but it put this beautiful kind of rainbow crack in it. And I thought, all right, well, that's supposed to happen. And it kind of, you know, reminded me of our own selves. None of us are perfect. If you've been married for a long time, your partner more than likely doesn't look the same as they did
Mhm,
when you first married them because we grow, we
mhm.
age, but we still are at our core who we are. So I think it depends, but you can look at it as an adding character to the crystal. I never say it's totally ruined. But
I love that. That was beautiful. It's a beautiful analogy or metaphor, or I don't know. Is it analogy, right?
I don't
Sure.
know.
Sure.
It was beautiful.
Whatever it was
That's-
beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you think that there are certain things that you would consider to be like the hardest or the best part of working with crystals?
The hardest part is not having enough space to have or money to have all the crystals that I want.
Heard that. Heard that.
Yeah. I mean, and the best part, honestly, for me, the best part is when I have a client who comes in who is just, I mean, you're both practitioners, you're aware, like you have these people that come in and you can just tell they're going through it. And when they leave with a smile, like I can't even talk about it. It's choking
Aw.
me up. That to me is the
Mhm.
chef's kiss of working with crystals, is being able to see someone's whole affect turn around
Mhm.
just because they were able to kind of connect with a bit of earth energy. And yeah, to me, there's nothing better than that. I think that's my favorite part of working with crystals.
Hey friends, we just wanted to take a moment to remind you all that you can interact with us on social media. We can be found at Curious Mystics Podcast on all platforms.
And if you haven't already, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share so that we can keep showing up for you guys with new weekly episodes and content. Thank you for hanging out with us so far, and stay curious. Yeah, that's, as like you said, we're both practitioners and have multiple different things, and definitely have had that feeling and understand that feeling, and that's why I do what I do.
Mhm.
I assume Kim's the same.
Yeah, I know that we've definitely talked about that before, but I think the connection of it, like being able to see that connection be made or be part of that connection or helping somebody make that connection is,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I can see why that would be super significant.
It's an honor to me, and I and that goes even just in the shop outside of the crystal healing, just being here, when people feel comfortable enough and trust me enough and even care enough about what I think of our situation to be able to help somebody. I mean, that's just, this place my shop brings with it a lot of opportunity to help people in ways outside of a transactional
Mm-hmm.
day. So that to me
Yeah.
is always like, I'm on the right path when I get that like confirmation, like, oh, someone left with a smile. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What are some different ways that people can start to learn about crystals when there's like so much out there? Like there's internet, there's AI, there's Walmart, there's, you know what I mean? Like, is there, what do you, obviously not, let's not do Walmart. What's, where would you say would be a good place to start, or,
Oh, well, I have two wonderful friends who are in the crystal healing arena who are amazing. Absolutely love them both. Ashley Levy, she's the owner of the Love and Light School, and she has a ton of resources. There's a lot of free resources out on her site. She's been doing this for a long time. And yeah, she's a wonderful resource that I trust, and she's very open and a great teacher in terms of, I can show it to you visually, I can show it to you through text, however you learn best. She's a wonderful teacher, and she has this knack for helping you see that. Another one of the folks that I always recommend, his name is Nicholas Pearson. He's an author. He is brilliant and has been doing this forever as well. They are both wonderful resources. But I think at the end of the day, there's really no better teacher than experience. And there's not a lot that you can do wrong when working with crystals. One caveat: if you're working with crystals and making an elixir, when in doubt, leave it out. That's a whole nother topic, but that's maybe the only way you could hurt yourself with crystals. But try it out, see what works for you, because the same thing won't work for every person. And another huge piece of advice that I give almost daily is trust your gut, trust your instincts. Don't doubt them. If you feel like, oh, I don't even understand why I'm drawn to this, follow it anyway.
Well, your website also for your store has an amazing list of what the crystals are and what they do and how you can use them. So I would definitely I'd recommend going there too.
Well, thank
And
you.
we'll put everybody the show notes too, with the people that you suggested. But yeah.
Excellent. Yes, that I can't take credit for that part of the website. My daughter, who is the manager at the shop, Tessa, she put that all together because a lot of people want the little tags to go with the papers, and we just logistically haven't been able to figure out how to make that affordable and still keep everything else affordable. So
yeah,
we have the list on the website. We have the QR codes all over the place, and we also have a lot of great books. So.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great resource too, because I know anytime I have a question, I'm like, oh, wait, I can't remember what this one was. And I go straight to your website and look it up.
I do too.
Because I don't see that in other places. So it's just an easy reference point.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was just wondering, because you had mentioned about if you're using crystals in making elixirs and stuff. From a, what's the word that I'm looking for? From a novice perspective, the first thing I think of when I think of using crystals is to use them in some sort of chakra healing or meditation work or, something like that. What are some other uses that people can, or other ways that people can incorporate crystals in their practice or their daily life?
Oh, that's so awesome. So I call them elixirs. Technically, they're essences. It's when you have the crystal in or around water. And water is an amazing, it imprints on everything. But a lot of crystals are not safe in water. So, malachite, for example, there's a lot of copper in malachite, fluorite. So those are crystals you wouldn't necessarily want to put directly into water. But if you put them into a glass and then put that glass into water, you're going to be able to get the same energetic imprint into that water, and then that water can be used for
interesting.
so much.
Yeah, cool.
You can drink it. I mean, trying to think of some other ways. I always have one in my car. I will say too, another point of caution for most people, and this kind of ties back a little bit to the cleansing, and I'm thinking about it because of my car. But if you have a quartz crystal in direct sunlight, be very, very careful. It's like a candle. Don't leave it unattended, because sunlight passing through that at just the right angle can set your curtains or your carpet on fire.
Good to know.
Yes. And not to say that, sunlight isn't a great option for clearing crystals, but I would make it a short period of time and be right around it. There are also crystals that will be negatively affected by sitting in sunlight the whole day. So I wouldn't necessarily put an amethyst cluster on my dashboard, because that will eventually turn into the heat treated citrine. Or at the very least, it fades to this brownish color when it should be this vibrant purple. But things like tiger's eye, I always keep a tiger's eye in my car. It's like a safety for travel. I do like putting certain crystals in my bathtub when I'm taking a bath. I usually will use quartz-based crystals for that. Anything with a hardness of, say, 7 or higher, or maybe 5. I might even go as low as 5. Those will not be as negatively impacted by water. So I'll put a rose quartz in if I'm taking a self-love bath or things of of that nature.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm off the top of my head, I can't think of a lot of. I'm surrounded by them all the time. Making crystal grids in your space, keeping a piece on your desk. Some people even have those little shungite tiles that you can attach to the back of your phone or put near your computer. So, yeah, just surround yourself with them, I guess.
Put them in your bra.
Yeah.
Yes. If you remember that they're in there, because I cannot tell you how many crystals I have broken by like you get home and you're like, oh, thank God. And then
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding. You're like, oh no, I'm
That
so
would be me,
sorry.
probably.
Yes. Or I'll
Oh,
pick
I've
it up like
definitely done that.
bounced really well. Hematite could bounce like that.
Yeah. Definitely been there.
My advice with crystals when you're working with them, and I say surround yourself with them. I'm kind of joking, but a lot of people will ask me about combining crystals, like, can I put these together? You can store them together, of course, but working with them, I feel like my main and only piece of advice with that is to work with crystals and combine. If you want to combine crystals, don't combine crystals that have opposing energies, generally speaking. So you wouldn't want to combine a nice, healing or calming crystal like blue lace agate with an energizing, uplifting, creative crystal like carnelian. There may be random situations where, of course, that would be what you need, but I feel like they kind of cancel each other out generally. My personal experience of working with crystal combinations before I quote unquote knew better. But I mean, again, experience is the best teacher. Try it out. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So
just keeping that in mind, though, so that that, if you're intending to have a certain effect and it's not maybe coming to fruition, that may be something to look at. Is it because you have things that are canceling each other out, and so it's not the same effect that you want?
Exactly.
Yeah, that segues into, are there any like combinations or specific crystals that you would use or when you're working for like meditation, affirmations, protection, like those type of things?
Oh, I love that. Yes. I mean, there's a lot of different combinations. Some of my go-tos specifically for like meditation would be blue kyanite, selenite, blue lace agate. I really love that. It's got this kind of feeling to it to me. And selenite, I always call the stress stone because every time I'm stressed, I'm like just clearing my energy with some selenite. It's like, okay, I feel reset. Protection, hands down favorite is black tourmaline. I find it to be super powerful, very grounding too. Hematite, another favorite. I know a lot of people like to work with obsidian for protection, and I think it can be very powerful protection. But because of its origin, it's volcanic glass. If you're trying to protect yourself from explosive anger situations, may not be the best crystal to work with.
Yeah, because it might be too fiery, quote unquote.
Exactly. You things may erupt. So, but maybe that's what you need, right? Maybe you just need to get that scream out, or obviously don't hurt anyone else. But and yeah, I think for me personally, if I'm working, like if I'm studying something or I really need to focus, I love fluorite for that. I love carnelian for that as well. It makes me feel like productive at the same time. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways that you can combine crystals as long as they are kind of all willing to work with you in the same vein, and instead of like, oh, well, I need you to help me feel uh, excited or uplifted, and I need you to help me go to sleep. Like, you can work with them both the same day, but I wouldn't do it at the same time.
That makes sense.
That kind of, you're like kind of sprinkling in here like how you would use some of the crystals. Is there anything else that you don't mind sharing about like what your practice looks like with crystals on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, sure. Yes. So this is kind of like a little, but might be a little cringy. I have a bowl it's a clear quartz bowl, and I keep water in it when I'm feeling like I really need to just have a good cry, I guess. You're just feeling overwhelmed. You can't really place it. And I will use that water, I dip my fingers in it, and I'll just like put it on my chakras, my third eye, my throat, whatever one is really needing to be unstuck. I definitely work with crystals on my chakras as often as possible. I wear them in jewelry a lot. Um, I do use my crystal elixirs. I mean, I put them in everything. Again, it's not technically an elixir, it's an essence,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I find the romance of the word elixir to be too tempting not to use.
Yeah.
Right?
But
I love it.
yeah, I do. I put them in my car. I put them near my bed, so to help me sleep, to help me feel grounded. I have some tourmaline and hematite gridding my house to keep my house protected. Um, so I think that's leaning a little bit more into the witchcraft side of it. But um,
But
yeah,
they go kind of hand in hand, right?
for me, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you have to be a witch to work with crystals. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of witches don't work with crystals too.
Mm.
So you don't, it's whatever works for you. It's not,
Mhm.
the two are
Mhm.
mutually exclusive, but overlap a lot for me.
Yeah.
Are there other things that you find that you're incorporating in your practice, or other things that you would suggest someone might want to explore if they're looking for additional support in addition to the crystals?
Ooh, yeah. So it depends, I suppose, on the situation and what you're trying to accomplish. The most important thing from my perspective is to journal. It gives you a guidepost. It helps you to recognize patterns, and it shows your growth, and it can help you look back where things initially didn't feel like they didn't work out, but ultimately they didn't work out. And then you can go back and say, okay, what did I do there that I need to try differently next time? Or, however that pans out, I feel like definitely journal, whatever it is, journal, journal, journal. I say that one a lot too. And to recognize that there are physical things we can do, and then there's mental things and energetic things that we can do to make ourselves, I hate to use the word clean or clear, but to try and keep what we are projecting out coming from a place of sincerity, pureness, authenticity, however that
Mhm.
is defined for you. A friend of mine described it perfectly. He's a tattoo artist, and he was talking about tattooing over scars. And he said it's kind of like a fishbowl. You can still see the image, but it's a little distorted. And I have had that image ingrained in my head ever since. And I think when we don't take care of ourselves physically, or we are pushing ourselves too much, and we're all guilty of that. I know I certainly
Mhm.
am. Um,
Mm-hmm.
our energetic outputs are kind of going through that fishbowl. So the most important thing I think you can do is take care of your physical and mental self. If
Mm-hmm.
you're struggling with things, don't be afraid to reach out. There's a
Mhm.
lot of different ways to get help, whether it's physical, emotional, but it will give you a better output for, and a lot more clarity for what you're trying to learn, how you're working. Read as much as possible, absorb it all. I think the more you familiarize yourself with the concepts of things and practice, 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 don't worry about perfection. The more you familiarize yourself, the easier it'll be to differentiate between the things that sound too good to be true or
Mhm.
not
Mm-hmm.
your vibe.
Mhm.
Think that's probably how I would start. And then, community. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, the month of October, there's a Connecticut witch crawl. And I
Yeah, I
think
saw
it's
that.
I
just CT
saw
Witch
that.
Crawl. We're part of it. I'm so excited about it. But there are so, so many. I think there's close to 50 shops participating.
Wow.
So go to where you feel comfortable, go to where you feel welcome. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different energies and a lot of different personalities, and everybody
Mm-hmm.
jives with who they jive with. And I think that if you try to force yourself into a space where you don't really feel like you belong, you're not going to have the best outcomes for yourself
Mhm.
personally or for anyone else you might be working with or for. So
Mm-hmm.
find your
Mhm.
tribe.
Yeah. There's a couple of things of what you just said that really stuck with me. One is the like needing to tend to yourself, to tend to those scars so that they don't remain scars. And I think oftentimes I see people trying to gloss over that. Like, I need to be the best version of myself at all times. So if I'm struggling, I can't let that struggle, be, or I can't explore it or release it. I have to cover it up. And that can be such a huge challenge to overcome. So yeah, sometimes it doesn't look perfect and sometimes it's uncomfortable, but releasing some of that or acknowledging it, addressing it can be really helpful. So I love that you kind of mentioned that. And then the community piece, which is something we talk about often. The connection with community is so big, and I saw that the witch crawl was happening, and I'm like, that's so exciting. It's something that, like, sometimes personally I can feel a little like shy to put myself out there. So something like that is like, yeah, everybody that's going to be doing it wants to be doing it. We're all in the same kind of headspace, and so it's an easy in to find community and connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we do a community circle here at the shop, and we actually just did one on Sunday, and it was about shadow work. So I think it's fresh in my mind, but yeah, there are some, there's Connecticut, the CWPN, there's the Church of Eternal Light in Bristol, Connecticut. There are plenty of ways to connect with like-minded people and,
Yeah.
find your tribe. I love that.
Yeah.
That whole vibe with your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And
Yeah.
I think
It does.
tribe influences your vibe too. I will say that some of the best friends that I have in the world now I've met through my shop. It's there's like an extra level of connection when there's a spiritual aspect to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. A little bit of a weird segue, but for someone on a budget, what would you say was the top 3 must-have crystals?
Ooh, this one was tough. Let's see. Definitely clear quartz. And I was going to just dead stop there, clear quartz, because clear quartz to me, I mean, I've seen crystal practitioners that use nothing but clear quartz. It's abundant and it's very programmable, I will say, to kind of help you do what you need to do with it. Also, black tourmaline, I think we can all use some grounding and protection, and even protection from our own thoughts when we get in our head sometimes. I want to say like 3 or 4.
Go for it.
But so labradorite is another huge favorite of mine, and fluorite. Those are some of my favorites. It's like picking a favorite child, really, but those tend to be the ones I work with the most. So I'm going to say that. Yeah, fluorite has this it's weird kind of, it's very structured, focus, but at the same time, it's very like, I'm going to take you out to here. I mean, that could just be how it affects me, but I find myself often working with it. I guess the one that you feel drawn with the most, but if you can only afford one crystal, make it a clear quartz. We actually purchased some man-made quartz. So that would be things like your watches, your phones, just to show people the difference of how it looks and feels. We did the same thing with moldavite when that was hugely popular. Like it's very easy to tell the difference when you see them next to one another. So yeah, if anybody wants to come and check out our fake quartz, you can see that too. Not that it doesn't work. I mean, it will work obviously the same way that in natural quartz does. It's just a different, I wouldn't say it will work. It will work different in terms of the way it performs the same, but not the same. I don't know if that's clarifying it at all, but I do love a good quartz too. So yeah,
quartz. I feel like that's like a good, like, everybody knows what quartz is. Like, I feel like that's like the go-to. It's everybody's little gateway crystal is the clear quartz, or even was it the rose quartz?
Oh
yeah,
I feel like rose quartz. Yes, she's very popular, and I love her. I do. But yes, I think that she may not always be the best choice for certain things, but That's any crystal, really. But yes,
Mhm.
clear quartz, rose quartz, amethyst, they're all quartz. They are just different flavors of quartz based on their mineral makeup that give them the colors that it does. So,
Mm.
What would you say to people who might be a little bit skeptical of crystals or what they can do, the healing properties and all of that?
well, there's two types of skeptics, I think, right? There's the skeptics that just want to make you look foolish and say, okay, prove it. And they're not going to accept whatever you tell them anyway. Um, my mother's one of those. Just gonna leave that there.
Yeah.
But there are skeptics who are genuinely just curious and really want to know, but may not have had that experience themselves. And to which I say, try it. And if they still are like, no, that doesn't work, well, you're it's fine. Like I'm not here to prove to you that they work. But if you try them and don't get the benefit out of them, um, I just maybe you're just not willing to see it. Maybe I don't know.
Mhm.
I think that if you're skeptical but curious and still want to learn, and it's not a matter of proving it per se with logic or reasoning or scientific basis. It's a matter of
Mhm.
proving it by how it affects you. And sometimes things I compare it to like homeopathic medicine, right? It's not going to work
Mhm.
immediately the way a prescription would.
Right.
But it may work better over a longer period of time and be less harmful, less damaging on other parts of your body to go the natural route. So being opposed to working with crystals or opposed to accepting that energy can impact your ability to receive it. So I don't really encounter too many skeptics. And those that want to remain skeptic, they can just enjoy their crystal free life. Like,
They can just move
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
Well, when I first started this, I was a skeptic. I was like, okay, crystals. Okay, everybody talks about crystals. Like, oh my God, someone's talking about crystals again. But honestly, it was when I went into your shop that I and was just like picking up the crystals. I was like, holy crap. There's
Mhm.
like, I could just feel it. I was like, wow. I was like,
yes.
okay, there's energy here. There is something to this. And then when we did the research, for the
Yeah.
episode, it was kind of like, okay, you got me. Now I got the whole, I'm wearing them. I got the whole thing on my altar. I got
Yeah.
I mean,
so.
yes, I don't know. I just feel like it builds upon itself, right? It's almost an addiction. You're like, oh,
Mhm.
this works. This felt great. I loved it. Let me get some more. Let me get some more.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's not really anything I feel like I have to be compelled to convince anybody. It
Mhm.
Try it for yourself. And it may not still work for you, and that's fine too. There are certainly nobody
Mhm.
forcing you to use crystals. Um, I'm not as well versed on the, scientific aspects. I've learned it. I don't
Mhm.
remember it
Mhm.
because, I'm a certain age and my memory's gone. But but I have had the logical, yeah, that makes sense moments, and then the ethereal, like, whoa, that was
Mhm.
intense moments. So
I
Mhm.
think that those pieces might be more important when you're having like the experiential piece of it, and you know what you have gone through. Um, I also, I don't know, I feel like if a person is skeptical, asking questions, I want to learn more, okay, that's a little different than a person just like straight out being maybe more cynical and like, no, there's no way that could be true. That's a different experience, and those people don't need to be shown any sort of proof or evidence because they're not going to change their mind anyway.
right, they're
Um,
not part of the tribe.
yeah,
Right. No,
yeah,
seriously.
But there's a
yeah.
place for everybody. They have their own
Mhm.
tribe.
Mm-hmm,
Definitely.
mm-hmm. And I also think that maybe to some extent there can be kind of like when I'm talking to clients and in my day job, we talk about like coping skills, and not every skill is going to work every time, and not every skill is going to work for everyone. And so you may find that you can gravitate more towards using crystals under certain situations or at certain times, or maybe you do better with other tools or resources when you're working on your spiritual journey. So
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And just because, you know, rose quartz is known to be a self-love stone and a calming, relaxing, you know, good vibe feeling, you might pick that up and be like, "Oh no, that one's
Mhm.
not for me." And
Mhm.
that's totally fine because to your point, not everything is going to work for everybody. But, you know, you might pick up, I don't know, a piece of amber and be like, "Oh, I like the way this one feels." So that can be your self-love stone. I think it's more about it's like personalities, you know,
Yeah.
crystals have energetic personalities. We have energetic personalities, and sometimes they jive and sometimes they don't. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure have encountered people that you meet and you're just like right away, like, I don't like that person or I don't trust
Mhm.
that person. I don't want to be around that person. You know, actually haven't encountered too many of those in my life.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some of the biggest takeaways you learned from running your business? And if you could do it again, would you do anything different?
Oh, let's see, takeaways. I think so. I would love to say that, yes, I would do all these things differently and I would have a business plan and I would be, because I really just kind of wanted to open my shop and I was going to do it. I
Mm-hmm.
did not do a lot of the back end business stuff. I consulted with friends of mine who own their own businesses briefly. Um, and I just stubbornly jumped in. But I think if I researched it too much, I may have been too afraid to even start.
Yeah,
So,
probably.
yeah, I don't think I would do anything different. My takeaways are that I say it almost every day, but I really feel like I am fortunate enough to have some of the best customers, and I learn from them as much as they learn from me. So being open and being willing to have new experiences, to admit that you don't know everything. I think one of the things I've encountered as a shop owner is that people assume since you own a shop, you must be the expert at everything. And I'm definitely far from that. And anybody
Mm-hmm.
that tells you they are is definitely not either. So you're always learning, always gaining more knowledge and turning it into wisdom with experience. So I think being open and being willing to be open to other people's experiences and their interpretations of what spirituality is for them without judgment is important. But yeah, I think we have a tendency as a society to be very cynical, judgmental, and part of it is a natural thing we do. And a big part of it is driven by our society and unfortunately the climate of our world today.
Mm-hmm.
But there are still really good people out there and they want connection and
Mm-hmm.
be willing and open to accept that. Don't get taken advantage of, but I think being willing to hear other people's points of view, all that stuff it's been a privilege for me. Not that I've been closed-minded before opening my shop, but I think it provided me a lot more opportunity to see a lot more different practices.
Yeah, being exposed to more.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that too, because it is a reminder that for me, it's a reminder that people can have very different experiences. And I could not ever go to anybody. I can't go to you or to Erica and be like, "Hey, no, you didn't experience that. Like you experienced what you experienced." So remembering that everybody can have their own points of view, their own experiences, their own definitions of like spirituality or practices or what's important to them. And that's okay. And me being open to that can give me a chance to have more experiences, to grow my understanding or to shift in my own personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely. I've had huge shifts in my spiritual journey since starting the shop. This October is our 10-year anniversary. So
Oh, congrats.
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've got so much going on. I'm so excited about it. But yeah, I've definitely seen seismic shifts in my practice, just primarily because I was practicing alone. And now I have
Mm-hmm.
this like
Mm-hmm.
community just willing to like want to work with me. And it's like, great. Let's do it. Support each other. And I don't know. I'm just so very grateful for this community that we have and that we've built here. And it means the world to me.
That's great. I think it seems very evident, at least in the way that you speak about it. And for anybody who has visited your shop, it's very evident in the care that you take and what it means, the importance and the significance of it. So
thank you. Every time we leave for the night and when we're walking out the door, we're like, good night, shop. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow.
I love that. I wonder if that contributes to like the positive energy that's in there when
I hope so. It definitely has been giving back for sure, but it is. It's my baby, my
That's
other
awesome.
baby.
Yeah, I think the fact that you love it so much comes like just kind of radiates into the whole shop. And then, I don't know anybody that can't walk in there and not feel at least even something, you know what I mean? Even the smallest bit of like good vibration of some sort.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the people that work with you, they're joy too. So
thank you. Yes.
Definitely.
They're like family. Literally and metaphorically.
Do you feel like there's anything that we haven't touched on today? Anything that you think is important for people to know or to leave them with?
Reserve judgment. Everybody is so quick to poo-poo everything and anything without even really having their own firsthand experience with it. And I think that there's really not, I say this a lot too, there's not a whole lot you can do to really screw things up. If you're not even if you're not sure, try it anyway. And then if it didn't work out, try it again. And if it's not for you, try something else, I think that sometimes our hesitation to be in the woo-woo sector, so to speak, comes from not wanting to do it wrong. And there's really not a lot you can do wrong. I always say, unless you're like hurting children or animals,
let's not do that.
I suppose that's up for debate as well as anything could be. But for me personally, I feel like there's really not a lot you can do wrong to just trust your gut, trust your instincts, and give everything a try.
Yeah.
If you feel drawn to this path, you're drawn to it for a reason, whatever the path looks like for you.
You are. And it'll always, and if you ignore it, it'll come back around and knock on the door harder.
It certainly will. It'll keep, ringing that bell until you answer the door. Right? Like,
not that I've experienced that or anything. But,
yeah, right.
Who does that?
I don't know.
Oh, I mean that, and too, I don't want to say lower your expectations, but don't expect your practice to look like it does in the movies, I think is the other big thing. I always clarify things with not the Hollywood version, but XYZ. So I think just because it didn't explode like it does in the movie doesn't mean that you didn't send out some very powerful magic, and careful what you wish for.
Right. Yeah. I work with a shamanic group, and they often will be like, oh, well, you see things whenever you journey. I don't see anything, so therefore blah blah. I'm like, no. Everybody's different. Like, I just happen to be very visual in my journeys, but you feel things and smell things and hear things that I don't. So it's all what your practice looks like for you. It's just different.
Exactly. And that doesn't make your practice better than their practice or vice versa. It's your practice.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
It has been so fun chatting with you. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
We're so happy to have you. It literally, the first time, when we first started this podcast, and we went into your shop, I was like, I have to find the owner and I have to have her on the show.
Thank you. I know. I'm so glad we connected. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I just happened to run into you the one day you were there. So it was nice.
Yeah, I
It
was
was
like,
meant to be.
whose card is this? That's mine. It's
Mine.
like, yeah, I definitely got this, like, I want to talk to her some more kind of vibe for sure.
Oh, me
So
too. Me too.
thank you for this. This has been
Yeah.
fun.
Thank you for coming on the podcast, for giving us all this great insight information. And I think it's, I mean, obviously our goal here is always to get some more information for people who are looking for it and want maybe a direction to start in. So I think that was definitely accomplished today. But also, it's going to sound, whatever.
No judgment.
A sense of like reassurance. I feel like I've gotten like a sense of reassurance, of validation, of encouragement. So I appreciate that.
That's so awesome. That's so great. I love that.
Thank you.
And thank you for making this easy on me. I'm an anxious person, so I'm like,
No.
can't tell the
no.
difference between excitement and nervousness, but
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with it anyways. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Yeah. So you want to tell anybody how to reach you or how to see you, and
Oh, yes.
if
Well,
you're on the CT Witches crawl, like how can they
we
see
are
you?
part of the CT Witch Crawl, and that website is ctwitchcrawl.com. You can find that our store along with like dozens of other stores, and definitely check them all out. Everybody's got their own special thing, and ultimately we're all part of this community. So let's support local businesses. Let's support each other. We can be found at stellalunallc.com is our website. You can book a crystal healing session with me through that website. Kim, to your point, you can find the list of our crystals. Thank you. We can be found on our socials at stellalunallc.com as well, or just Stella Luna LLC, I suppose, on things like Instagram. I did put the LLC in there. I wasn't aware of the book Stella Luna until after. My store was originally called Stella Ornamenta, and I have since changed, obviously, to Stella Luna. So a little bit of a story behind that, if you have a quick minute for that. I know we're wrapping it up.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to make this even more longer. But so yes, when I first opened my doors, I wasn't a physical location. I was making jewelry. My daughter was very young, and I said, I'm going to make jewelry that's going to be worn on the red carpet by the stars. And so I called it Stella Luna, or Stella Ornamenta, which is Jewels of the Stars. The metaphysical shop that I used to work at after that was called Blue Moon. And that has since, don't think they're open any longer in all locations. They had a few, but I really missed that. So I took the Luna from the moon and dropped the Ornamenta. So Stella Luna was born. And then I opened my doors, physical doors, and so many people were like, is this like the Bat story? And I was like, the what? And then people started giving me books of those stories, Stella Luna, the children's story. So I have some books of Stella Luna, but not the same one.
Funny.
Interesting.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a cool name. I wondered how it got the name.
My delusions of grandeur as usual. And homages, as always.
It works.
Yes, it's working for you. So
For sure.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it was so great meeting you. So great talking to you. And, hopefully we can have you on again. And,
That would be awesome. I would love that.
yeah.
Thank you for having me. And thank you both for what you do. This podcast has been like sitting down and chatting with old friends. And I love that. Just listening to you guys talk. There has been so many times where I'm like, me too. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Well, thank you.
yes, we appreciate that.
We love
I
that.
think that's
what
always
we
what
want.
we're trying to strive for. It's like Erica and I are having these conversations and we're like, maybe other people are having these conversations. So
definitely. I'm like, I want to call them up right now and be like, yes. So I'm glad I found you. And it's been a pleasure listening to your episodes and your shows. It's been informative. And, it reminds me too that like we are all part of this community where, we don't know everything about everything. And it's always all about the journey of discovery. So thanks for being a guidepost there.
Definitely.
Well, thank you for being part of that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, until next time,
Stay
curious.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.